Monday night, and you know what that means. Jersey First TV proudly brings to you the latest edition of Real Talk. And I am New Jersey's premier award-winning journalist, Top 50 Latino, Via the Latino Spirit online magazine. Without a doubt, the weapon of mass disruption in Garden State media. Yes, folks, the people's choice and the people's voice, and certainly the most handsome face that runs the place. Yes, it's me, Fernando Uribe. Ladies and gentlemen, happy Monday to you all. Hope you had a wonderful Father's Day. Shout out to my father and my uncle, Fernando Sr. and Daniel Sr. collectively, and all the dads out there during this holiday weekend. God bless you all. Looking forward to hitting Yankee Stadium this Sunday with the dads, obviously, to cheer on our New York Yankees. And again, folks, I hope you had a wonderful weekend with all of your friends and family. I can't say it enough. I want to thank you all for tuning in here from wherever and however you may be doing so right now on Facebook Live via StreamYard, of course, on the Jersey First YouTube page, and of course, on all your social media platforms. And speaking of which, folks, I can't say it enough. Make sure that you like Real Talk with Fernando Uribe on Facebook as well as Jersey First. Follow Jersey First on Instagram and Twitter, as well as yours truly at the Fernando Zone. Don't forget to subscribe to Jersey First TV on YouTube, and of course, wherever you get your podcasts, whether it's Spotify or SoundCloud. Hey, download it and take Jersey First with you. Whether you're heading down to Martel's Tiki Bar on Monday for Tiki Mondays, whether you're going to Surf City in downtown Jersey City, whether you're going to Long Branch, wherever it is, folks, take Jersey First TV. Listen to it anywhere at any time during the summer months. And ladies and gentlemen, I cannot say enough how proud I am to be on the dream team of Garden State journalism. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, it's Jersey First TV. We're always educating, empowering, obviously enlightening, and of course, engaging you all and entertaining you all every single week. Of course, brand new episodes of the Nader Narrative with the amazing Elizabeth Nader premiere every Thursday via jerseyfirst.org/TV, and also brand new episodes of Bridging the Gap with AJ Malilo and Stephen Rombolo also premiere on Thursdays via Jersey First TV. You can always catch Real Talk with Fernando Uribe every Monday night, live at 6 p.m., once again via Facebook Live on StreamYard, and also on the Jersey First YouTube page, as well as on Twitter and LinkedIn. Folks, certainly there's a lot to talk about during this election cycle, but you definitely want to stick around for the end of the show for my final thoughts, because I'm going to have something to say to Hoboken Mayor Ravi Bala. It seems like Mayor Bala was trying to be cute over the weekend, and wait around, folks. I'm going to be just as cute, if not cuter. I mean, I'm cute to begin with, but I'm going to be a little cuter with Ravinder, who I guess seemed like he was trying to be funny over the weekend at my expense. Yeah, that's not going to work out so well for you, Ravi. Stay tuned for that at the end of the show. But first, ladies and gentlemen, November 7th, Election Day is right around the corner. And without a doubt, we have just an outstanding amount of candidates running. All 120 legislative seats will be up for grabs. Obviously, any chance that Republicans can turn the legislature red as my jacket really exists in Central and South Jersey. And there are a lot of great first-time candidates looking to unseat incumbents. And one of them is my guest tonight. She is running in the 22nd Legislative District. And apparently, from what I hear, a very big fan of the show. State Assembly candidate Lisa Fabrizio joins us here tonight on Real Talk. Lisa, how are you?
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be on.
I appreciate it. And folks, again, if you're just tuning in right now, sharing is caring. Click that share button and share Real Talk with Fernando Uribe right now on all of your social media platforms. Lisa, again, for our audience who are not familiar, certainly, folks, the 22nd Legislative District is in a sort of small pocket down in sort of central Jersey, right around Union County. Obviously, after the redistricting committee did the redistricting in New Jersey, obviously all the legislative districts have changed to some extent, but a good chunk of the district is concentrated in Union County. And again, you can check that out, obviously, on the state legislative website. So, Lisa, I think about first-time candidate, I think about this election cycle, and any hope of holding the Governor Murphy accountable is for districts in Central and South Jersey collectively to go red this November the 7th. I know you're a first-time candidate. I think one of the best questions I'm sure you're probably asked on the campaign trail is, Why are you running?
There's multiple reasons why I'm running, and I'll just give you a little bit of background about me. Fernando, I am a social worker. I'm a mom. I feel like I've always been an advocate for kids and for parents, just by virtue of the work that I do. And there were a lot of things happening that I was just unhappy with. I think it started during COVID.
Sure.
A lot of the mandates didn't make sense. I think the kids were really suffering. Nobody was really talking about the shutting down of schools and how that persisted for an extensive amount of time, and the masking persisted for an extensive amount of time. There was significant learning loss, and the kids were isolated, and the rates of suicide for children actually went up 51%. And that's pretty significant. So that was where I started to really get upset, right? And I was emailing my legislators and I was calling them, and it was really falling on deaf ears. And from there, there were other things that were sort of happening, right? I felt like there was an assault on parents' rights and on the family dynamic.
Absolutely.
They were starting to pass bills and I'm not sure that if anybody was paying attention, right? Because it was like COVID and everybody was, trying to just sort of keep their lives together and work. And a lot of people were losing their businesses and stuff. And I don't know that everybody was paying attention, but one of the things that they did was they passed this bill where a police officer is not allowed to contact you if they pick up your child who may be on drugs or may be drunk. And that was really upsetting to me, right? Because, thinking about this from a social work perspective and as a parent, I thought, my God, if a cop picked my child up and they were on drugs, I would want to know this.
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, their hands are tied and they're not allowed to contact you. So this is obviously upsetting for multiple reasons, right? But for me, the one reason is if you're a parent and this is your wake-up call, right? That maybe your child needs help, you're not getting it. Because you're not being called and you might not know, right? And they might be able to hide it from you or do whatever. And you're not getting that wake-up call to get them the help they need. That's number one. Number two, if your child gets picked up and then released and they're impaired, then they're out in the community and they're not able to take care of themselves, make good decisions. And like, God forbid, something happens to them, right? They get raped, they get killed, who knows? And you would never know because you're not allowed to find out. So that was the first thing that really upset me in terms of the passing of the bills. And I did call my legislators and I emailed them. And, my senator never returns an email or a phone call, ever really. And my two assembly candidates, the one really never responds. And the other one actually did respond to me. And she said, we had special interest groups come to us and ask us to pass this bill. And I said to her, well, what about the special interest groups of parents, right? Parents should be the most significant special interest group. And she didn't really care about my perspective as a parent. And when I said to her, well, I'm also in the mental health field, and we have a coalition of mental health practitioners who is kind of really upset about this and upset about some of the other things that are happening. And we think that this is, going to negatively impact our youth. Mm-hmm. She listened a little bit, but I really got turned off because she didn't care that I was a parent. And that should be the most significant thing, right? And then moving past that, shortly thereafter, they passed this other bill. And this other bill was, in the past, if you wanted your child to participate in sex ed, you had to sign a permission slip, basically saying, yes, I allow my child to participate. And the Democrats decided, well, we're not getting enough forms back. That, parents allowing their children to participate. So their solution was, we're not going to ask parents anymore. So they passed a bill basically saying, we don't care whether you want your kids taught this information or not. You now have to opt out. Every child is going to participate in this curriculum. And here we are. Now we have the sexualization of children, inappropriate sexualization of children.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yep, that's right.
Well, absolutely. Inappropriate curriculum in the school. Parents are upset about it. Parents are being made out to be these domestic terrorists, these book banners, which is absolutely ridiculous.
That's right. Yeah.
And we're fighting just for appropriate curriculum for our kids. That's all we want. We want them to be able to read and write and do math. And right now, the learning loss because of COVID is pretty significant, right?
Absolutely. And folks, if you just joined us right now, it's 6:10 here on the East Coast. My guest tonight is State Assembly candidate in the 22nd Legislative District, Lisa Fabrizio, joins us here tonight on Real Talk. Again, folks, click that share button. Sharing is caring. It takes 2 seconds and show your support for Real Talk via Jersey First TV. Lisa, you brought up some very good points there about accountability, about the fact that you as a parent, you're also working in the really in the mental health field. And one of the things that I would argue, and I will die on a hill on this, I'll plant the flag and I'll say, I'll take the Pepsi challenge, as they say, is that Governor Murphy, still won't ever really acknowledge, I think, the irreparable harm that his shutdown inflicted on New Jersey. A lot longer than he had to. Again, I'm not a medical doctor. I'm a PhD. I'm not, a practitioner of any kind. But I think that we saw what governors, and I hate to politicize a virus, right? But it almost seemed like governors in red states, we're learning now that governors in red states, like the great governor Ron DeSantis in Florida, and so the Greg Abbott in Texas, got it right. Bill Murphy, Andrew Cuomo, when he wasn't groping women, right? And even Kathy Hochul, who succeeded him, and even the guy in Ned Lamont in Connecticut, and even, the pretty boy out in California, okay? Gavin Newsom, all these blue governors got it wrong. They kept the states shut down longer than they had to. They killed small businesses. And I would say the biggest dynamic that bothered me, and again, I don't have any kids that I know of, but what I knew about with parents was the idea that kids as young as 4, 5, 6, 7 were forced to stay home longer than they had to. Again, folks, I'm not a PhD in psychology, but you don't need one to know that the cognitive harm that did to these kids, not being in a learning environment, okay, wearing masks longer than they had to. Kids have to see speech. Kids have to be able to communicate. The idea of linguistics, okay, the idea to be able to communicate orally, that was inhibited on them, okay? And then to say nothing of the fact about being home longer than they had to. And if their parents aren't tech savvy and school districts gave them Chromebooks, I mean, again, as parents are trying to make ends meet, they also have to deal with their kids being home. And some of them, again, this is not a slight on anybody, but some parents, immigrants, naturally born, whatever, any background, may not be tech savvy. So their kids were already behind the 8 ball, being home longer than they had to. And I think that is by far the single biggest harm that the emperor did with keeping New Jersey shut down longer than he had to. We may not see it now. We'll see it in 5-10 years, Lisa. Maybe some documentary on Netflix, but we're going to learn about it much sooner than later.
So, Fernando, I'm also a school social worker. So I have
even better. You can talk about this even more intelligently than I ever could.
Yeah. It was a debacle. I mean, it was a true debacle, right? And teachers were trying to teach virtually. And then when we finally were back in person, some kids were in person, some kids were virtual. It's not easy to run a classroom when you have half the class on a computer and half the class in person, and you can't control for what kids are doing or aren't doing, right? And the learning loss is significant. So I read somewhere recently that 57% of kids, 57% are not proficient readers, writers, or mathematicians, right? So New Jersey historically has been right at the forefront of education. We've always been 1, 2, 3 in the nation for education, and now we're 16th. I don't know how to say this nicely, but like the rhetoric is, well, they're all behind, so it doesn't matter, right? They're all behind, but it does matter. It does matter that they're all behind, and it does matter that they've not had significant activities in their life, right? My daughter, when school shut down, was graduating 5th grade. She didn't have a graduation. She didn't have a 5th grade dance. She didn't get to say goodbye to her peers. That's significant, right? And then they're all going off to the middle school in different places and they don't see each other again. My son, I believe, will never recover the learning loss that he had, quite frankly. And he's in high school now. He was in 7th grade when the world shut down. And we're still trying to make up that time. When he finally went back to school, they, well, my daughter went back, I mean, they barely went back. They went back at the end of the year, the following year. He was in a different school at that point, and he went back sooner, but he couldn't tolerate the mask. He was coming home with a headache every day. He was fatigued. It was just miserable. So then I ended up, letting him go virtual because I didn't have a choice. And it was just bad. And I know that I'm not the only parent who is feeling this, right? And I'm also trying to work, keep food on the table. And I know all parents were in the same boat. Yeah. And most kids were not learning in that environment.
Yeah. No, and I think what was even more egregious was how the NJEA just pretty much were like, have you ever seen seals at the circus when they're throwing fish at them and they're like, R, like that's what the NJEA looked like with Governor Murphy and the leadership in the legislature. Instead of calling this out and saying, hey, you're harming our kids. No, the NJEA, President Sean Spiller, who happens to be the mayor of Montclair, New Jersey, really, again, how that isn't a conflict of interest, I don't know. But the idea that a teachers union like the NJEA or the AFT or other unions didn't go harder at the governor and at the time, State Senate President Steve Sweeney and Assembly Speaker Craig Coffin to say, listen, stop doing this to our kids. No, they just idly sat there saying, yes, okay. And those that suffer the most, and so suffering wasn't them, it was our children.
It was the kids.
Yeah, and it's really disappointing. Let me ask you this, though. Again, as a candidate, I know that as a social worker, as a mom, you're concerned as a taxpayer, homeowner. New Jersey continues to become ever increasingly unaffordable. Like I just coughed and I think my taxes went up.
I bet.
That's New Jersey. And I understand where I live in Hudson County up here in LD 33. Like I'm very fortunate. My mayor is also my state senator. He makes it a point to work hard to keep property taxes down, spending down to some extent, but that's not what's happening in Trenton. Whether it's Steve Sweeney or his successor, Nick Scutari, or Assembly Speaker Craig Coughlin, like it's still the spend, tax mentality. And again, it's suffocating New Jerseyans. We're seeing a massive exodus out of the state to states that are better run, like Florida, Texas, the Carolinas, Georgia. And I just, I grow concerned when I hear candidates saying, hey, listen, I want to run, because we know Trenton is broken. We know what's wrong with Trenton, Lisa. But as you've been going door to door this summer, and you'll be doing that into the fall, I'm sure you'll be going to town events, fairs, community events, whatever. When people go up to you and say, okay, the incumbents are incompetent. We know this, all right, in LD 22. We know this. Lisa, what are you going to do differently? What's your answer?
Well, I think, New Jersey has so many broken pieces. I mean, I don't even know where to start, quite honestly. But we do know that it's not affordable. It's not affordable for anybody. We know it's not affordable for small businesses. I think that we have to talk about the corporate tax, either decreasing the corporate tax so that small businesses come back to New Jersey, and then our communities and our economy can flourish more, because we did lose a lot of businesses in New Jersey during COVID. And just because it's not business friendly, right? Because of all of the taxes that we have, the ridiculous taxes.
Yeah.
That's number one. Number two, our property taxes are through the roof. And actually, when I talk to people, I don't know that they notice that our property taxes are through the roof. And I say that because, when you have a mortgage, you're paying your mortgage payment, and your property taxes are being paid through your mortgage.
Lisa, real quick here. The average in New Jersey is $9,250. That's just the average property tax. Yeah. Where I live up here, again, in LD, I'll let you finish. I'm sorry. In LD 33, I mean, it's pretty reasonable, but I just go up a little bit north into Bergen County by the George Washington Bridge. We're talking about 12, 13,000. I go south of me into towns like Summit, Cranford, Short Hills. We're talking about 20,000 plus. So it is egregious in New Jersey.
Oh, it's insane. And also I think that, some people don't realize that we are like the highest taxed state, right? So they don't know that in other states, if you go to live, your property taxes are $3,000 or whatever they are. So yeah, I think that the property tax, the scaffolding, we have to figure out how to make that fairer for people. I think that seniors are noticing it when their mortgages are paid off and their kids are out of school. And so they're not supporting the school system. And they feel like they still have a mortgage because their property taxes are so high. So they're still paying, $1,000, $1,500 a month just on property taxes. Young couples, again, I don't know that they notice it as much because it's sort of bundled into their mortgage, but it's a ridiculous amount of money. I think that we need to make pensions tax-free so that we can allow seniors to stay in New Jersey where their kids are and their grandkids are, because a lot of people are moving out when they're retired and they're on fixed incomes, and then they can't continue to pay these property taxes. So I think that's an issue. And I think that a lot of people in New Jersey are working for the state or the county or whatever. And so they have these pensions, fire, police. I think making those tax-free would be really important. I think that, one of my running mates, Bill Michelson, I'll plug him here. He believes in a flat tax rate. And that's something that I am not going to jump on. I'm still looking into the benefits of that.
Sure.
The benefits of a progressive tax rate. But it's something that intrigues me, and I'm looking into it. But affordability is something that's super important. And we're putting up all of these developments, all of these apartment buildings, and under the auspices of, affordable housing, but they're not really affordable, right? So we need to look at actually providing affordable housing and not just, these developments for the sake of developing.
Sure.
So that's important. And recently I was at a conference where they said that the largest, newest demographic of homeless is actually single moms with a job. So that's really disturbing. And I think that we need to fix this. We need to fix it fast.
Absolutely. Folks, again, it's 6:20 here on the East Coast. If you just joined us live here on Jersey First TV, my guest tonight is the State Assembly candidate out of the 22nd Legislative District all the way down in Union County. Lisa Fabrizio joins us here on Real Talk. Click that share button, folks. Sharing is caring as you're watching Real Talk via Jersey First TV. Lisa, obviously, you have a great grasp of what's going on statewide. Let's sort of delve into more in LD22. What other issues, again, should you be successful, and I hope you are, on November the 7th, and you take office in January of 2024, what do you really want to sink your teeth into? Obviously, you already mentioned affordability, maybe more accountability in terms of COVID. I know there's a COVID report that, I'm not sure how honest it'll be. Who knows? It might be as honest as Joe Biden is awake. Who knows? But obviously, what else do you want to tackle in LD22? Infrastructure? Is it more about services for seniors, veterans? What do you really want to sink your teeth into? Again, should you and hopefully be successful on November 7th once you take office in January of 2024? So
I think some of these state issues affect all of us, right? Regardless of whether we're in Union County. We're in Union County, we're not down the shore. However, one of our platform items is the halting of these wind farms. And because what's happening with the ocean affects everybody.
Yes.
We don't live on the ocean. However, if we're killing the ocean, that affects everybody. So that affects our health, that affects our fishing industry, that affects our food supply. So that is one of the things that is on our platform to tackle. Obviously, the affordability. Like I said, we have these massive developments going up in every single town in Union County. It's making it really congested here. It was already congested. If you know Union County, it was already congested, and now it's significantly worse. And it's a quality of life issue, right? So, I live probably a mile and a half from the train station, and I will leave my house if I have to take the train a half an hour early. And I have missed the train 2 or 3 times just trying to get from here to there.
Wow.
It's crazy. It's insane. Every morning on the Parkway, it's bumper to bumper. I can't get where I'm going. I literally have to drive 2 miles to drop my kids off at school, and it could take upwards of 35 minutes to get there. You
could probably walk your kids to school and get there.
I probably could, honestly, right? If we were awake enough, we could do that. But yeah, so I think that the overdevelopment is an issue in Union County. I think a lot of people are unhappy with it. And it also will drive up our taxes if we want to think about it on a larger scale, right? Just because with the more people coming in, that's going to put more strain on our sewer system. It's gonna we're gonna need to expand our schools. We're
Sure.
going to need to expand our police force, our fire department, really everything. So again, it's making it more unaffordable for New Jersey, at least for the people who are paying property taxes, and really the people renting as well, right? Because the people who own the housing or whatever, they're going to pass that excess on to the people who are renting. It really affects all of us.
Lisa, one of the things I'm concerned about during this election cycle, actually every election cycle in New Jersey, is obviously we're past primary day. You're the Republican candidate running on the ballot against the Democratic incumbents. Mm-hmm. One of the things I'm always concerned about, because we start in 2021 where the Republican Party in New Jersey made some strides. They were able to send 9 new assemblywomen to Trenton, right? Mm-hmm. They flipped the Senate seat. Good riddance to Steve Sweeney. Congrats to Ed Durr, obviously winning the primary last week and certainly moving on to November. Hopefully he gets to retain that Senate seat. But one of the things I'm always concerned about, and this is not because I'm trying to be malicious or anything. I'm not looking for a job with the NJGOP. I'm really good in academia and in journalism, so I'm good. I'm always concerned about the New Jersey Republican Party, though, Lisa, because it seems like, and to sort of use this sports term, again, for a lot of you out at home, it just seems like even when they have some momentum, they'll get to the goal line, they'll either fumble the ball or get stopped at the 1-yard line and not score. And it seems like in a climate like right now, where you have an incompetent president, an even more incompetent laughing hyena of a vice president, okay? When you have just disorder in Washington, when you have gas prices, okay, on the rise, again, it's mid-June. I mean, I was already driving by today and I saw some gas prices, $3.50, $3.60. It's getting up there, okay? Also food prices, inflation, apparently the reality that Sleepy Joe promised me that he was going to pay off my loans from grad school. That's not going to happen. So we're living in a climate where everything's more expensive. And it seems like, hey, the wind's to our back. We have some momentum. The NJGOP should be, investing more money, getting more money from Washington at the RNC. I just get this sense, and again, this is not a shot at Bob Hugan, even though people think I'm want to run for state chair. I don't want that job for anything in the world, okay? Give me a full head of hair, okay? Give me a full head of hair before I want that job, okay? It just seems like the NJGOP is kind of playing it safe. Hey, let's keep the districts that we already have. Let's not go too crazy. And I think that does a disservice to districts in Central and South Jersey that are winnable, case in point, LD22.
I would agree with you 100% on this. I think that we have a common sense message. I think that we're level-headed. I think that we have the best interest of New Jerseyans at heart, quite honestly. Even as a candidate, and maybe I shouldn't say this out loud, the thing that the Democrats have, right, is that they have a lot of financial support.
Sure.
And you need a lot of finances to be able to win an election. And in areas where they think that we may not have the ability to win just because there's a real stronghold from the Democrats for a long time, there's not a lot of financial support. So the candidates are kind of on our own, and that's hard.
And also, too, again, and just some demographic information. I know that after redistricting, the district changed, but again, I'm just looking at, let's say, voter registration. Half of registered voters in Union County tend to be Democrats. About 15% are Republicans, but a whopping 33% are unaffiliated, the independents. I would argue, just like every election cycle, because Democrats have that advantage. They can raise money. They have all these unions that virtue signal and pander for them. The NJEA, the AFT, CWA, take your pick. But it would just seem that, in a district where it's a predominantly white district, white working class people, 22% Black, about almost 34% are Hispanics, it would seem that the NJGOP should take this opportunity, not just in LD22, but all these districts where, if we learned anything from the census, because again, folks, a little education here, Professor Uribe is going to let you all know that the reason that redistricting happens is because of the census, okay? And every 10 years, a census takes place. And what we learned after 2020, folks, very much like the country, New Jersey is a prime example. New Jersey isn't getting whiter. It's not getting blacker. It's getting browner with people like me and my parents and whoever else, okay? And it seems like the NJGOP, it's not enough to just say, okay, New Jersey's expensive, Lisa. We know this. Water, wet. We know that some Democrats, not all, some Democrats never took high school biology, and it shows. Okay. They never took an economics course, and it shows. They never took a climatology course, and it shows.
Right.
These are the things I think the NJGOP and candidates have to harp on, not just, hey, Democrats in Trenton tax us. We know this. Some Democrats in Trenton spend irresponsibly. We know this. Some Democrats coddle illegals. We know this. Focus on winnable arguments. And I'm just afraid that not you or your ticket, but the NJGOP as a whole isn't helping out candidates like you and your tickets to the best of what I think is their ability. Is that fair to say?
I think it's fair to say. And if I could just make a statement also, I feel like it's almost a PR issue as well, right? Because, you're unbiased and you'll have candidates on and we'll talk about actual issues. But there is a lot of the media who are not really covering the races, who are not really giving airtime to Republican candidates. The Democrats have sort of slandered us in terms of calling us racist and calling us bigots and calling us, sexist and all these terms which aren't accurate, but there's no counteroffensive, right? We just kind of allow it and we think, oh, well, people know that that's not true, but I don't know that people know it's not true.
No, listen, you're absolutely right. And I think also, well, a lot of good first-time candidates like yourself are behind the eight ball on, as you said, like the liberal media in New Jersey are willing accomplices.
Yeah.
Pushing a narrative on the left. I mean, we all know who the useless journalists are. Tom Moran, David Cruz, Charles Stile, Matt Friedman, who else? Anybody at, really insider in Alan Steinberg, Max Pizarro, Jay Lassiter, the Star Ledger, North Jersey. Like, we all know that they would rather bitch and moan about pronouns instead of property taxes. And I think that's a big disservice that they do. Is I'm the only journalist that is really talking about kitchen table issues. And I think that's disheartening for voters that are A, fed up with Trenton, B, are just so apathetic and don't care, or C, are pretty much have one foot out the door and they're renting a U-Haul to get the hell out of here. And I think that, again, the liberal media does an immense disservice to candidates when, quite frankly, they're just cheerleading with some Democrats in Trenton.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
No, and it's crazy. Lisa, let me ask you this here. Again, folks, if it's 6:30 here on the East Coast on Jersey First TV, if you're just joining us live right now, again, sharing is caring. Click that share button real quick and show your support for Real Talk via Jersey First TV. My guest tonight is LD22 State Assembly candidate Lisa Fabrizio joining us here on Real Talk. Lisa, before I let you go, let me ask you this, because I think that it's important to sort of put this out there. And I would argue that maybe it's an issue that will resonate statewide in these legislative races. We've been seeing school board meetings across the state making the news, whether it be all the way up in Sussex County, like Roxbury School District, or other school districts around the country. Parents, again, homeowners, taxpayers, they're the ones who pay the property taxes, who, by the way, folks, again, Professor Uribe going to have class again. Property taxes is what funds school budgets and school districts. A lot of parents are upset. And they make them homophobes or transphobes. But the idea, and again, I'm going to talk about this more because I got called out by the Hoboken mayor for my disagreement about what Pride Month is. And quite frankly, some of my disagreements about some items with the LGBTQ community. But, Lisa, it doesn't make parents like you bigots or homophobes or transphobes when you're concerned about what our kids are exposed to. I get it. Guess what? We live in a smartphone society. Kids have access to smartphones, the internet. I get all that. It's a much different time than when you and I went to school. Okay. And you're a young lady and I'm a young man, but by and large, it's very different technologically than when kids are growing up today in our schools. But the idea, whether it's, folks, you can celebrate Pride Month all you want. I support LGBTQ people. Be whoever you want, love whoever you love. But again, what's happened is we've been seeing a lot of this movement and these events that are supposed to be family friendly, Lisa, pretty much sexualizing and indoctrinating kids. The idea that a mom, and I'll show some images later, at least the ones I can show on TV. Okay, moms holding their kids as young as 2 years old at a pride event with grown men walking around with dog masks, being led around by leashes, and other sexually explicit imagery. I'm sorry, you can be proud and you can be for civil rights, which I am for, but you can do it in a way where it doesn't sexualize the content or expose children as young as 3 to images that they should not be exposed to. Doesn't make me a homophobe or a transphobe or a bigot altogether, but that's the knock I get, Lisa. I know you hear it too. Do you think this will be an issue come this election season?
I think it should be an issue, quite honestly. I touched on before that the inappropriate sexualization of children is a huge problem. Obviously facilitated through the new curriculum, which we were calling the health standards, which is interesting. But also just in the communities, right? There's a lot, every town is having a pride parade, which, listen, I don't mind that, right? I have friends who are gay. I have a close friend who's like a sister to me. She's gay. I wish all of my gay friends the best, and I want them to have a happy life. And I don't care, honestly, I don't care who loves who, right? I really don't. Like, more power to you. Makes no difference to me. My problem is when we're teaching children things that they're not ready to understand. And we do know factually that the younger you introduce pornographic material, inappropriate sexual content to children, the more it becomes like normalized and acceptable to them. However, they don't understand what they're seeing, right? So what that actually does is that allows them to be taken advantage of by groomers, right? And just a couple of statistics: 1 in 10 people is sexually abused. 1 in 20 people is actually an abuser. And so normalizing some of this content is really doing a disservice to our kids, because they're going to think, oh, this is normal if someone touches me or someone does this or whatever. And it's not. And I know that, well, just recently I had a kindergartner refer to her private area as her pleasure area, right? This is what we're teaching kids in school. We're teaching them about sexual pleasure. And it's a problem. You know, the sex standards in school used to be about reproduction. It used to be about like continuing the species. It used to be about, you know, protecting yourself or whatever. And now it's about, let's talk about masturbation. Let's talk about this, all this ideology, and it's inappropriate. And I think parents have a right to be angry. It just doesn't have a place in schools.
I'm with you completely. And I think it's listen, whether or not it'll be an issue in a lot of legislative districts this November 7th remain to be seen. But I think that parents are standing up more at school districts. We're seeing parents take to social media, even nearby in Hoboken by me. Yeah. Obviously, you know, airing their grievances about what the Hoboken Public Library was doing, as well as the leadership in Hoboken, which, you know, more on that later, folks. Stay tuned for that. But I think it's certainly an issue that is going to resonate this year and certainly next year in 2024. I think when we're talking about a presidential election season, all 435 seats in the House of Representatives are going to be up, some Senate seats. So I think it'll be very interesting to see, how far this goes with the discussion. Lisa, before I let you go, real quick here, any websites, any social media links you want to share with our audience about your campaign and how anyone who wants to volunteer can get involved? So
I do have a Facebook page, Lisa Fabrizio for Legislative District 22. You can find me on Facebook. I will be doing a lot of door knocking with my running mate, Patricia Kwiatkowski and Bill. And we actually have a really great slew of candidates in Union County this year. So we'll be doing a lot of door knocking. I do like to talk to the, constituents face to face, let them know who I am and find out what their issues are, because sometimes, what I'm passionate about might not be what they're passionate about. And if I'm representing them, I need to know what they're interested in as well. So a lot of face-to-face contact. We'll be doing the door knocking. We'll be going to events. Find me on Facebook. I would love to expand my door knocking team. So if anybody's interested in helping, that would be great. I also have a link to my anecdote. So if anybody wants to contribute financially to my campaign, that would be super helpful as well. That's where we are right now.
Definitely. Lisa, again, before I let you go, you have been just an incredible guest, certainly as a first-time candidate. I wish you the best of luck. I know when I ran for state assembly, the one and only time I ever ran for elected office in 2011, I mean, I was very proud of my campaign. It was very grassroots. I ran as pretty much a moderate. I think I've got more conservative as I've gotten older and wiser, as they say. Yeah. But certainly, I want to wish you the best of luck. Certainly, it's not easy doing what you're doing. I do want to wish you and the rest of the Republican ticket in LD22 the best of luck during this campaign season. I hope that you get to flip the district as red as my jacket. And again, you're a great candidate. You're a mom. You're a taxpayer. You're concerned, and you have every right to be. And I appreciate you coming on the show here tonight, articulating your candidacy and really the issues I think that affect everyday New Jerseyans. And you did a great job tonight. I'll give you the last word here.
Well, I do want to thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure talking to you. I would just encourage everybody to come out and vote. This is not typically a year where people do come out and vote, just because the top of the ticket is the Senate, and a lot of people won't come out unless it's a gubernatorial race.
Sure.
But this is super important because every office is super important, right? Go out and vote for your school board. Go out and vote for your council people. Go out and vote for Assembly and Senate. We need to take control of both, arms of the government in order to do anything. Right now, we're in the minority in both of the houses, and we can't really get anything done.
No, you're absolutely right. And again, I think if you can shave into those leads in the state Senate and the state Assembly, I think it goes a long way with having more influence and just having a louder voice.
Yeah.
Hopefully trying to make the emperor's remaining 2 years in office. I mean, they can't come soon enough for me, but hopefully making the emperor's last 2 years as uncomfortable as possible. So again, I want to wish you the best of luck. Folks, she is Lisa Fabrizio. She's running for the state assembly in the 22nd legislative district. Make sure, again, follow her on Facebook and get involved with her campaign. Best of luck to you and the rest of the ticket in LD22. We'll talk to you later on this summer and going into the fall, Lisa, here on Jersey First TV. God bless you. Best of luck to you, and have a great rest of your summer.
Thank you, you too.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Folks, great episode here with Lisa Fabrizio. Obviously, a first-time candidate, a mom, a school social worker. Folks, if there's anyone that checks off a lot of boxes about who you want running for an assembly seat in that district, I would say it's definitely Lisa Fabrizio and the rest of that ticket. So do get involved. Great candidates. And as I mentioned before, folks, I'm really the only journalist in New Jersey that's talking about these kitchen table issues. Okay. I'm not talking about nonsense like pronouns. I care about property taxes. Okay. And I'm the only journalist that's talking about them. Listen, the list of the clowns I just mentioned, they're useless. They're not doing they're doing New Jerseyans an immense disservice because they're focusing on things that don't really matter during this election cycle. I am, and that's the profound difference between myself and obviously the rest of the lollipop guild that is the New Jersey liberal media establishment. Folks, before we call it a night, some final thoughts. And let me start off by saying that, I want to thank the following people I'm going to dissect tonight like it's a high school biology course, for all the new followers on Twitter and all the engagement on my social media. Of course, all the views I get on the traffic for this show. But let me start off little by little here, because it seems like over the weekend, some people took exception with some comments I've been making during Pride Month. And, I'll get to what I've said exactly in a moment, but I do want to address, obviously, some people on Twitter over the weekend who just cannot seem to get my name out of their mouth, and I live rent-free in their heads, right? So let's start off by talking about, certainly, and folks, by the way, again, 643, sharing is caring. Click that share button again as we are during final thoughts here on Real Talk with Fernando Uribe. So, of course, folks, when we talk about Twitter engagement over the weekend, we talk about people that apparently had a lot to say about Fernando Uribe. Well, let's start off with, a guy who's always a fan of the show because he's watching, and that's Chiquitin, Hector Oseguera, all 5 foot 2 inches of him, right? Who apparently will never get any social media engagement unless he's mentioning my name and unless he's calling me out for something that he doesn't like that I said or did, right? And for a guy that doesn't like me, you spend a hell of a lot of time on Twitter, bro, mentioning me, referencing me. And I just think it's glorious for a guy that's supposed to be so anti-establishment. Just do a simple Google search and you'll find out that Hector Oseguera, Chiquitin, right, is on a planning board. I'm not going to tell you what city he's in, but I'll tell you that to get on a planning board, ladies and gentlemen, you have to kind of talk to establishment people. So for a guy that prides himself on being so anti-establishment like Hector Oseguera, wow, bro, stick to the planning board, stick to being a nuisance on planning boards. I know that you can't live a day without my name coming out of your mouth. And man, it must be uncomfortable for you that I live rent free in your head, because it seems to be you and the rest of the clowns on your newsfeed. We all know who they are. Hoboken residents, Jersey City residents, okay, who we all know, first off, okay, wouldn't say some of the things that you write on Twitter to me. Now, I know that Hector's going to say, well, I came up to you, at a council meeting, called you a bootlicker. Yes, Hector, that's true. And I remember as you were talking to me, I had to sort of like bend down a little bit, because you're 5'2", to make sure that I saw you eye to eye, right? Because obviously, if I'm having you come next to me, I'll be like, oh, hi, Hector. How are you? What's going on? What's your problem with me today? Like, that's what my interaction would be with Chiquitin. But again, he just can't seem to keep my name out of his mouth. And again, I appreciate the followers. I appreciate the traffic. You're doing me a great service. I mean, considering the fact that you can't win an election, you can't ever get traffic unless you're mentioning me. I don't know, man. Listen, again, and I feel bad. I'm saying, like, I'm not the tallest guy in the world, but I'm certainly not 5'2", like Chiquitin, Hector Oseguera. But folks, speaking of Twitter interaction, I also want to talk about people who also decided to reference me over the weekend. And yes, folks, Hoboken Mayor Ravin Derbala, along with, of course, Joe Quintero, Emily Jabor, Phil Cohen, and the rest of the Mickey Mouse Club that is comprised of the city council in Hoboken and the city of Hoboken. As you can see there, folks, if you ever needed the best wallpaper to describe the city of Hoboken and its leadership, listen, again, you can look right there. You can see those wonderful people there standing in front of a flood, which is pretty much the city of Hoboken, because they're choosing to focus on pronouns instead of property taxes, or maybe, I don't know, fixing pipes. But that's the amount of virtue signaling that we have in the city of Hoboken. So let me just sort of address everybody individually who apparently either has something to say about Pride Month, and of course comments, right, that I've made on Twitter about Pride Month or about the Hoboken Public Library and everything else. Okay. Let me start off by saying the obvious. And folks, by the way, all right, and this is what's really funny. If there's ever been a public service announcement to make sure that, hey, teach your kids to not bully kids, because when you bully them, they probably grow up to be insufferable douchebags. And if there's ever a poster child for who was bullied as a kid, and you look at him now, folks, it's right there, Uncle Phil. And I don't mean the cool one from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air starring Will Smith in the 90s. I mean Uncle Phil right here. Okay, but more on Uncle Phil and MEM, Emily Jabor, in just a moment. But it would seem that council people in Hoboken have a lot to say about comments that I've made, right, on Twitter during Pride Month. Okay, now I'm going to read you, again, as you can see there, what the truth is about Pride Month and just in general. Okay, and you can see it by me, but I'll read it for you just in case you don't have your glasses, and maybe reading from a smartphone or a tablet or a computer is difficult right now because of lighting or whatever else. Dear members of the LGBTQ community, if you don't want to be treated differently for being gay, then stop acting like being gay somehow makes you special. Your sexual orientation is neither an achievement nor a holiday. You haven't accomplished anything simply by being attracted to one sex or another. Okay? And that's true, because I've had a plethora of people reach out to me since the weekend, and ever since I've been talking about this, saying, Fernando, you're right. I may not put it in 120 characters on Twitter, but I commend you for your courage, because you're telling people every week what we all know is true, right? Another testimonial, and this might be a little bit difficult for you to read, but you can screenshot and then read it on your own. This is what I've written on multiple Twitter pages for the last few weeks since Pride Month started, okay? The LGBTQ community is the most privileged minority in history. Every institution goes out of their way to honor and celebrate them. Laws are altered to cater to their emotions, and society is rearranged to validate and affirm them. Yet they still say they're oppressed. Essentially, the left, academia, the liberal media, and Hollywood elites have created a privileged class. Essentially, it's now better to be a member of the LGBTQ community than it is to be a veteran in the United States, for example. You'll get, for example, you'll get senior political positions, which we all know, nonprofit money, and if anyone dares to disagree with you, you get to cry hate crime, which is true. What a country we live in, folks. And it's really interesting because the fact is that all of the following exist. And yet, for people like Ravi Bala, Phil Cohen, Joe Quintero, Emily Jabor, and the rest of the Mickey Mouse Club at City Hall, as well as many other activists and people who seem to have an opinion in Hoboken, that's simply not enough. But here are the facts. Flags do fly from government buildings. An entire month is dedicated to you. Shutting down debate you don't agree with, that's also part of the month as well. Ubiquitous corporate support. Okay? You check every corporate logo, it's all rainbows. And that's great. Right? Here in the United States, whether it's Mercedes, Target, or anywhere else, right? It's rainbow central. That's great. Curious why Mercedes-Benz and Target and other companies don't do that in other parts of the world, like the Middle East, for example. Very interesting. All right. And also, for example, another truth that people like the aforementioned I just mentioned don't ever want to address, changing the meaning of language to ensure you're accommodated at all times. And if you don't comply, you're a blankist or a blankphobe. Folks, that's the level of lunacy that we're living in right now. That's what it is. Okay. And the idea, all right, that we get, and again, I'll get to everyone individually. Okay. Is there nothing more insufferable? Okay. Is there nothing more insufferable than having to deal? Okay. Having to deal, and I'll sort of just put this in here because I don't think you want to be exposed to this. Is there anything more insufferable in politics than the typical white woke liberals, which you know is an infestation in Hoboken, right? That love to pander during Pride Month. Folks, this is embarrassing. Okay. I don't know who thought this was a good idea, where Uncle Phil and MEM thought it was a good idea to do this, but you look silly. All you're doing is reinforcing the narrative that you love to pander. That's all it is. Don't come at me with this, I'm just being celebratory. You look like clowns. You look like outright clowns. Now, again, for people like Uncle Phil and MEM, they're oblivious to this. Or Joe Quintero, right? Or people like Mike DeFusco, the rest of the Mickey Mouse Club that want to sort of be sanctimonious during Pride Month and stand on the hilltops and talk about it. Well, let me dissect each person individually. Okay, again, folks, how embarrassing is this? Okay, I was sent this and I said, oh my God, who thought it was a good idea? Folks, again, let's have an intervention here. Okay, Emily's husband and Phil's wife, folks, do us all a favor. Have an intervention with these two clowns. Make sure that they never do this in public again. It's embarrassing. You should be ashamed of yourself and how foolish you look in the name of pandering. My God, have some shame. I couldn't stop laughing at this. I'm like, look at, you want to talk about Albert Brenneman and Hitch? Folks, Albert Brenneman looks like Michael Jackson dancing and that level of choreography based on what we were exposed to. Folks, this is embarrassing. My God. If I never have to see this again, it'll be too soon. But let me talk about, again, members of the city council that for whatever reason, okay, want to be sanctimonious about, I don't know, parents maybe being upset about images that their children are exposed to. And again, these are photos that I can show on this program. Okay? We all know about Pride events and how family friendly they are. They're not, folks. They're just not. You can do a simple Google search, and whether it's exposing kids as young as this young lady to grown men in thongs wearing leather dog masks, okay, or being led around by a leash, okay, or irresponsible parents, for example, that would expose a kid as young as 2 to these sort of images. These are the woke white liberals in Hoboken and nationally that think it's a good idea. Okay. And I'm here to tell you that it's not. And I'm the only journalist that has the set to talk about this. All right. But let me get back to members of the city council specifically that really, really annoyed me over the weekend. Okay. Let's start off with Mike DeFusco. Yeah, sure. Mike DeFusco is the first openly LGBT council person in Hoboken history, and I applaud him. But what's funny about Mike DeFusco is this is the same guy that wants to talk about, oh, well, I'm all about uplifting people and not marginalizing anybody. Mike, in 2021, bro, I'm going to check you right now. In 2021, you had no problem being the loudest voice in the room, marginalizing unvaccinated people like me. So much that you felt it was a good idea to acquire vaccine passports in the city of Hoboken. So much that you had no problem making sure that even Mayor Ravin Bala signed an executive order to make sure that this was enforced. Really? You want to be about marginalizing people and raising awareness about it? How about, why don't you bring that same energy and sticking up for people who are unvaccinated like me, who's never going to get vaccinated because I'm not going to comply, right? But you had no problem marginalizing those people for your own political reasons, right? Okay. But now you want to stand sanctimoniously and talk about, oh, I stand up for all people. I stand up for anyone who's marginalized. No, you don't. You don't, because you didn't do that in 2021. Okay? So when people like me wanted to go to Hoboken and have a meal, I couldn't because people like you thought it was good to infringe on my rights. But you'll be the same guy that'll talk about my body, my choice, right? And sticking up for certain social causes. No, you don't, Mike. You don't. Either be about it completely or don't be about it at all. Don't pick and choose, okay? Because it seems like you and Ravin Bala, Emily Jabor, okay, Phil Cohen, Joe Quintero. See, I'm not a medical doctor, but I know that I can make this diagnosis. What you all suffer from is what's called selective progressivism. You want to be progressive and woke when it suits you, okay? And Mike, that's just an example. So the idea that you want to talk about uplifting marginalized people, guess what, folks? In 2021, going to 2022, people like me were being marginalized. Okay? The idea of requiring vaccine passports and somehow thinking, Mike, that that's a good idea, Mike, you should be ashamed of yourself. You should be ashamed of yourself. And to talk out of both sides of your mouth, I see right through it. Okay? So the next time you want to talk about, oh, I want to stand up for everybody, no, you don't. Okay? It's my understanding that you're not running for re-election. Good riddance. Goodbye. Go hit the hills, hit the bricks, right up into the sunset. I don't need one less sanctimonious, hypocritical, talking out of both sides of your mouth, Hoboken politician. Good riddance. I don't need to hear about Mike DeFusco. Let's move on to other virtue signalers. Okay? Someone like Phil Cohen, okay, who should thank his lucky stars that had Peter Cunningham not decided to run for another term, Phil Cohen would have not even sniffed City Hall. Okay? The only time he'd go to City Hall is to renew his residential parking permit. Okay? That's as close as Phil Cohen would have gotten to City Hall. Okay? Or Emily Jabor, for someone that, hey, good for you. You graduated from Columbia University. For someone from Columbia University, Emily, man, you don't strike me as very bright because I saw your testimonials at the county commissioners meetings about the ICE contracts. I mean, after listening to you, I'm like, wait a minute. Does this woman know the difference between an ICE contract and ice cream? Spoiler alert, she doesn't. But these are the types of virtue signalers that exist in the city council. Okay? Never mind Joe Quintero, another useless member of the city council as well. Again, who feels the need to virtue signal and just be all about like, yay, Team Bala, and put on the pom-poms. I mean, just the visual of seeing Emily Jabor and Phil Cohen and Joe Quintero with like, the cheerleader outfits with their pom-poms, it's kind of an ugly visual, but you know what I'm saying. Okay? And this is the thing, and this is what's really funny, where they think retweeting or staying up for the Hoboken Public Library. Did you see that turnout on Saturday, folks? Did you see pictures? That turnout looked like a Phil Cohen fundraiser. All right? That's how empty it looked. Okay? I don't know what was funnier, the turnout for Saturday, right? I don't know what was funnier, the turnout for Saturday or this nonsense. Okay? Folks, I don't even know where to begin with this. I don't even know where to begin. Seeing this nonsense, okay? I don't know what made me laugh more. These two clowns, okay? Or the turnout Saturday at Church Square Park, okay? I don't know what was funnier, okay? But That's really interesting. You want to go virtue signal all you want. I'm not going to go for low hanging fruit and call anyone the G word. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to call you out on your nonsense. Because these are the same woke white liberals, right? That during the summer of 2020 were all about racial justice and marched to glorify a career criminal. Folks, that's what George Floyd was. He's a career criminal. It's unfortunate what happened to him and how he perished. But let's not minimize the fact that he was a career criminal. It's public knowledge. You can look up his criminal record. It's online. Okay? But these people were the same white woke liberals marching on Washington Street to say, yay, racial justice. Yes. As they and others are privately applauding gentrification and sending their kids maybe to charter schools or private schools, not sending to schools in Hoboken, right? Supposedly Hoboken public schools are pretty good, right? Do all of you send your kids to them? I don't know. I have to dig into that one. Okay. So that's this type of virtue signaling I have no use for. But the chief virtue signaler, folks, we all know who it is. It's Mayor Ravinder Bala, who has the audacity to call me out again on the entire narrative I just read you. I pretty much copy and pasted that on multiple Twitter pages to express my discontent for how absurd this has become now. Okay? You can be all about civil rights without openly pretty much saying it's okay to put content out there that exposes kids to sexuality unnecessarily. But this is what's funny about Ravi Bala. Okay? Ravi Bala, right, is the progressive. He's that progressive Democrat that's all about standing up for marginalized people and standing up for people that, hey, maybe don't have a voice or are being treated unfairly. Ravi, question. Where was that energy when you were kicking off Annette Chaparro from the assembly line? A very competent and very dedicated legislator like Annette Chaparro. And for the record, let me say this. I've spoken to Annette Chaparro on the phone multiple times off the record. And I've told her right to her face, hey, there have been some votes I have not been happy with you with when you've gone to Trenton. There are some bills that with your name on it or votes that you've said yes to that I'm not happy with. But that doesn't belate the fact that Annette Chaparro has been for 8 years a dedicated, attentive, and most importantly, concerned legislator. Okay? But Ravi Bala would rather replace a Latina and then replace him with, wait a second, wait for it, right? The progressive Democrat who's all about, I'm about empowering women and marginalized groups. Yeah? Who'd you replace Annette with, Ravi? Oh, that's right. A white male who happens to be a partner in your law firm. Okay? Oh my God. Ravi Bala, the progressive. Oh, right? It's a fraud. Folks, it's a fraud. Where was that energy to stick up for Annette Chaparro, a dedicated legislator? But you're a progressive. You're about sticking up for marginalized communities? Get the F out of here with that nonsense. You, Phil, Emily, Joe, and the rest of the Mickey Mouse Club, you know where you could go. Okay? Because where was that energy? Where was that energy in sticking up for Annette Chaparro? Right? Robbie, where was it? And you replace her with a white male. That's standing up for minorities? That's standing up for women? You kick off a Latina, a dedicated single mom like Annette Chaparro to pretty much give one of your boys a hookup on the state assembly? Really? Really, Robbie? And you want to come at me about being sanctimonious? Robbie, really? Bro, look in the mirror. I mean, I know it's tough. I wouldn't want to look in the mirror either, but I mean, really? Where was that energy? Stand up for Annette Chaparro. Because, folks, Robbie was the one responsible for that. Nobody else. Okay? You can't blame anybody else for that. Okay? That's Ravi Bala's call. Okay? And this is not an indictment of Jessica Ramirez. She's going to be a fine legislator, dedicated attorney, someone very, very intelligent. I don't have a problem with Raj Mukherjee either. I'm sure he's going to be a very, very good state senator, as he's been a very dedicated state assemblyman. But Robbie, you kicked off Annette Chaparro, okay? But where's all that energy about sticking up for her? And another thing, too, about being progressive, let me look at my notes here. So apparently in the city of Hoboken, if you're an employee, right, you can get insurance, right? Benefits, right? Ravi, I'm just curious, when you work for the city of Hoboken, does the insurance plan that city employees have cover sex changes? Spoiler alert, it doesn't. So how progressive are you really? You talk a good game, you're all about this, but you're really not. Okay? And that's a fact. Folks, that's not speculation. Okay? So for all this progressive hero that is Ravi Bala in Hoboken, folks, it's a fraud. It's, as a Cuban would say, eso es basura. It's a lie. Es una mentira. Okay? Mentira. Okay? The idea that whether you're kicking Annette Chaparro to the curb or, hey, why isn't transition surgery included in the medical benefits plan if you're a city employee? I mean, if you're all about being progressive and standing up for the LGBTQ plus community, right? And making sure you cater to the alphabet mob, what's up? Be about it, bro. Be about it. So again, for Ravi Bala to come at me and be all sanctimonious, bro, por favor, please. Okay? No one's buying it. Okay? Least of all yours truly. But here's an open challenge for everybody. For everybody in the Mickey Mouse Club, right? Everybody in the Mickey Mouse Club, obviously, Emily Jabor, Phil Cohen, Joe Quintero, anybody at City Hall in Hoboken, right? And the mayor himself. Okay? I'll give you all, and you know my phone number. You know how to reach me. You can reach me on social media. Okay? All right? I'll give you 1 hour commercial free to come and debate me and tell me where I'm wrong. Where my comments about the LGBTQ community during Pride Month were wrong, because they're not. Everything I said was factual. You don't have to like it, but it's factual. Okay? And for the virtue signaling Mickey Mouse Club there, again, here's the challenge to you. I'll give you 1 hour to come on this show and debate me and tell me where I'm wrong. But folks, here's the truth. It's not a prediction. It's a spoiler. None of the aforementioned I just referenced have the spine or the set to come on this show. Because, and I'll put it out very simply, because I'm pretty well political. I'm pretty much insulated politically, so I'm good. Okay? And for anyone that wants to say that my comments were out of line, whatever, I haven't heard any complaints. My phone hasn't rung all weekend. So it must not ruffle that many feathers. And I've got a lot of people contact me, say, Fernando, you're right. I don't want to put it in 120 characters on Twitter or put it on Facebook, but bro, you're right. Everything you've said is correct. It's not easy to hear for the virtue signalers. Okay? But you're right. And again, I don't need the affirmation, right? Because I know I'm right consistently on this program. But again, I'll give you all 1 hour. You can all come on together as a package or one by one. I'll give you 1 hour commercial free. You can come and debate me. All right? And we can have a civil conversation. But if you're going to come on this show and blatantly lie and say that I'm being dishonest or I'm being bigoted or homophobic or trans, folks, I'm none of those things. What I am is honest. What I am is factual. So again, folks, the challenge is there. But remember, you decide to come on this show and you want to challenge me, very simply, and this isn't a threat. This isn't me being all tough guy or chuma. No, I'm just telling you the truth. You want to come on this show and attempt to debate me about where I'm wrong? I'm going to tell you something right now. You want to come on this program? I will cook you in ways you're not prepared for. I'll say it again. I will cook you online on live television in ways you're not prepared for. No me busque. Again, come on the show. The challenge is there. I'm waiting. You know how to contact me. Come on the show. I'm begging you to come on the show and debate me. But again, folks, here's this prediction. It's not a prediction. It's a spoiler once again. They don't have the set or the spine. And it's actually kind of funny that yesterday was Father's Day, right? Again, happy Father's Day to all the dads. But it's interesting that yesterday was Father's Day because we all know if any of you came on this show, I'll be your daddy. And you all know it. And folks, that's our show for this week. Once again, I want to thank State Assembly candidate Lisa Fabrizio, okay, an LD22 running for state assembly. Again, great conversation for her. Folks, sharing is caring. Make sure you like Real Talk with Fernando Uribe on Facebook as well as Jersey First TV. Don't forget to subscribe to Jersey First TV on YouTube. And of course, wherever you get your podcasts, whether it's Spotify or SoundCloud, hey, download Jersey First and take it with you wherever you go these summer months, whether it's driving down to Martell's Tiki Bar on Mondays, driving down to Surf City in downtown Jersey during these warm weather days, going down the shore, or even going down to Lake City. Take Jersey First with you. And of course, all the great content brought to you by, of course, folks, the Dream Team in Garden State Media. Yes, folks, it's Jersey First TV. Brand new episodes of the Nader Narrative premiere on Thursdays on jerseyfirst.org/TV. Again, the amazing Elizabeth Nader hosting the Nader Narrative. You definitely want to catch her show. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, brand new episodes of Bridging the Gap with AJ Malilo and Stephen Rombolo premiere also on Thursdays. And of course, every Monday night right here at 6 p.m. Eastern time via Facebook Live on StreamYard and also on the Jersey First YouTube page, as well as on Twitter and on LinkedIn. Brand new episodes of Real Talk with Fernando Uribe come at you live every Monday night. And folks, I cannot say enough how proud I am to be on the Jersey First team. Amazing teammates. Again, I can't say enough. I love Rock and Red, folks, because of Jersey First TV. Folks, once again, I want to thank you all for tuning in here this week. Again, one more time, because it's just so funny, and I can't help myself. This is gold, folks. Folks, if you can download this, oh my God, download it. It is golden television, folks, to see this clown show. I'll tell you, I at least have to look at least twice a day, because you know what? In this time of, inflation, rising gas prices, food prices, I need a good laugh, folks. Hey, you need a good laugh? Look it up right there. Trust me, it's going to make you laugh like it is making everybody laugh in Hudson County. Once again, folks, thank you so much for watching. Here I am, New Jersey's premier award-winning journalist, Top 50 Latino, Via Latino Spirit Online Magazine, the weapon of mass disruption in Garden State media, certainly the people's choice and the people's voice, and of course, the most handsome face that runs the place. Yes, it's me, Fernando Uribe, saying so long, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next week here as we close out the month of June, thankfully. Again, we'll be entering July and the summer months ahead, folks. Please party responsibly. And as always, thank you so much for tuning in to Real Talk with Fernando Uribe via Jersey First TV. Have a great night, everybody.